Welcome to the Worldview Weekend Economic Update. I'm Brannon, Howse, joined today by Mike Weiner again from Swiss America. We are trying to give you information that you can use to kind of figure out what's going on economically. We've added trillions of dollars to our balance sheet as a nation. We're trying to figure out, are we going to see inflation in some areas, deflation in other areas? How can you prepare for what's coming? Folks, we don't give financial advice, we give financial opinion. We're giving you information. You can take it and do what you will with it, do your own due diligence. But many of you email us, text us, wanting to know more about what's going on economically. Of course, we are in uncharted territory, so it's hard to know what's going to happen. We're at a crossroad. Depending on how the government responds, will really determine whether or not we roll back to a free market system or into nationalizing banks and nationalizing industries and more socialism. So this is a very, very important topic and one we want to discuss today with Michael Weiner. Michael, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Brannon. I always enjoy it.
All right, so from your perspective, what are some of the major financial implications of the coronavirus pandemic, and will they be temporary or are they a long-term game changer?
Well, I think there's two things to look at. Everybody immediately gravitates to the stock market. They think that's the most important area that they need to look to, and that's going to give them their answers. I believe that on a short-term basis, the market will come back, maybe not as strong, but it'll come back. I think the economy will come back, but I think the big issue that is a game changer is the amount of debt that we acquired, which now is close to $30 trillion at the end of the day. Additionally, the need to devalue the currency. But the two areas that people should be more concerned of than anything else that is a game changer is three things. Number one, the banks will not be the same. The government's relationship to the banks and the Federal Reserve will not be the same. And the relationship to your money, your currency, the people who have money at home and think stocking away hundreds of thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars is going to protect them. It doesn't protect you, as people found out in 1933 and in 1971 when they changed the money. It doesn't protect you at all. Devaluation is on the forefront. The Democrats had brought that up when they brought up the situation with the devaluation and changing to a digital currency. So the big game changers right now is currencies, banks, the Federal Reserve, and one other issue that I think overshadows them all, and it hit me last night when I was watching one of the news shows, that this is an agenda to step on our civil liberties. And civil liberties includes your financial and your personal, and that is a game changer right now when everybody act herded and follow the yellow brick road that might lead them into a catastrophe.
Absolutely, Mike. We've been saying it again. Your religious liberty is tied to your economic liberty, which is tied to your political liberty. They're all connected. And when you start telling people, you can't go to church, we're going to arrest the pastor, as has happened, we're going to fine you $500, as shockingly as happened in Greenville, Mississippi, which is a very conservative state. I was born in Jackson, Mississippi. Of course, Jackson is now run, in my opinion, by a neo-Marxist. The governor of Greenville, basically, in my opinion, is a neo-Marxist. If you go look up who he is, who his brother is. So these are, little despots, in my opinion, that are little would-be dictators, if you will, flaunting some of their power. And notice who they go after: churches. Wow, shocker, neo-Marxists going after churches. And again, that's what I believe these people are when you study their worldview and what they're for. But the majority of Mississippi is not like that. But this should, again, show people the importance of who they elect, even at the local level. But there they are giving out $500 tickets. Now, this has made national news. We here in Memphis knew about it days before the rest of the nation because it's just a few miles away. But here they are giving $500 tickets to people sitting in their car, listening to their pastor on the radio. He's in the building preaching, but they're in the parking lot with their windows up, listening to him on the radio. And the police are giving out $500 tickets. They're arresting people for being out on their paddle boards. They're arresting dad who was at the park with his son. They handcuffed him for a while. I mean, this is ridiculous what's happening. And you're right. This is about civil liberties. And once you start taking away their civil liberties, it's not long before their religious liberties, which is again happening, and then their economic liberties. And here's a headline from AP today. Banks brace for big loan defaults by U.S. global customers. New York AP, the major banks in the U.S. are anticipating a flood of loan defaults as household and business customers take a big financial hit from the coronavirus pandemic. JP Morgan, Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citigroup, and Goldman Sachs raised the funds set aside for bad loans by nearly $20 billion combined in the first quarter. Earnings reports released over the past 2 days show. And Wall Street expects that figure may go even higher next quarter, a possibility bank executives acknowledge on earnings conference calls. So here's again the issue. You go read the Communist Manifesto. It calls for the nationalizing of banks. These globalists and neo-Marxists in America and around the world would love nothing but to collapse the whole system, I think, and then use it for their advantage, which again is why they're all on a global scale. The World Bank, working in concert with Accenture and Microsoft and other companies, talking about giving everybody biometrics. I mean, again, isn't it interesting? The World Bank tied back to the United Nations. So again, this is a global agenda that's going on, and we're very concerned about the liquidity of these banks. We were concerned about the liquidity of the banks before this happened due to the repurchasing market overnight. And that's something we were talking about on the radio back in January. And now we see coronavirus is going to make this an issue. So again, we don't know where we're going, but we could indeed see inflation in some areas and deflation in others. Talk to us about that, Mike. Inflation in one area while deflation in another.
Well, deflation is literally the stepchild of hyperinflation. And it's looked upon as when your values actually go down as your dollar goes up, and then it reverses itself, hits bottom, and shoots up like a rocket ship. And it doesn't shoot up to inflation; it blows right through it to hyperinflation. The big issue in what you just stepped on right there is related to both hyperinflation, inflation, and your civil liberties is your financial liberty. Your financial liberty, as it relates to the money that you have, has been stepped on. And the way they did it is by coming at us with fear. Everybody doesn't want to get sick. Everybody doesn't want to go to the doctor. So why not sit back and use something in a fear way to get everybody to follow the yellow brick road? That yellow brick road, when you look at your financial liberties that are tied to your civil liberties, if they can tell you where you can't walk, why can't they tell you what you can't have? And when you sit back and you look at the fact of what's going on in this country, the big banks, they don't care about their losses right now. What they're looking about right now that they're really salivating with is one word. It's called control. They now have a grasp to be able to say, well, we're going to help you. And some people you would think are not going to go along with it. Other people will. But they will sit back initially. We will have a deflationary period because our currencies will rise against other currencies in the world. In other words, our dollar will be worth more than maybe a British pound. However, ultimately, as the values go down, they hit a certain level and then they skyrocket up. And the question becomes one, will President Trump control these globalists that are trying to sit back and not only remonetize America, they're talking about remaking America, which will remake our financial system. And the question each person should ask themselves when they talk about financial liberty is, what do you own? Do you control that you don't have to say please or thank you or mother may I, as the old saying used to be, to get your hands on it? And that's why people used to think holding currency was the solution. But maybe the founders of the nation had the right idea. We were backed by gold for almost 200 years without incident. Without incident. 49 years later,
Mike,
30 trillion in debt.
Let's talk about the reality of resetting the dollar, resetting the currency. Do you see a reset? I mean, how else do you deal with the inflationary perspective? If more nations start to dump the dollar, China, Brazil, Russia, India, South Africa, any of these countries come together and work in concert as they have in the past with the BRICS banking system, and they can do away with the global currency. You're talking about a global reset of the U.S. dollar, or of course, even if it's taken off the stage of the world currency, it becomes a national reset, does it not?
Absolutely. Well, you have to go on two different levels. Number one, the world, and then America. President Trump has been trying to protect us with borders and encapsulate us as we used to be in a protectionist manner. But at the end of the day here right now, European Union is a train wreck. The euro is a train wreck. The British pound, they just left January 31 out of the European Union. They're a train wreck. They have no choice than to sit back and do a devaluation. If we don't devalue with them, we're going to be left out there with the rising dollar, which will send us into hyperinflation or deflation even faster. They're talking about in those countries possibly backing some of their currency with gold. President Trump is talking about that here. They're also talking about nationalizing the banks or getting rid of the Federal Reserve. There might be some light at the end of the tunnel if President Trump's able to sustain things, but the problem that also exists that's in the background here, Brannon, is the election. That is going to be a World War III while all this other stuff is going on, and we have clearly seen that the Democrats and the leftists, as they are, could care less about what's good for the country. They're only concerned about what's good for their control. And reality is, like my grandfather used to say, when you don't trust who's cooking dinner, don't eat. Get out of the game as much as possible and put things in your control. These currencies and these other things are going to be manipulated. There's going to be games being played during an election year, as well as what happened with the pandemic, which I question the pandemic. But at the end of the day, all of these issues will play into our currency, both politically and geopolitically. It's going to be a double whammy. And if President Trump can do anything at all, is he can balance the balls until he wins. But if he does win, maybe he'll be able to go back on some sort of a gold standard in a minor way and do something to stabilize it. But at that point of time, you're going to take a hit in other parts of your economics, which would be in your stock market, your land values and going up and then initially going down, initially going up, and hyperinflation and inflation.
Well, listen to this, Mike. Even CNN, I mean, they're not the only ones reporting it, but even CNN had this headline: Trump picks another Fed member who believes in the gold standard. This one really means it. That was a July 2019 article. And so again, Trump obviously is doing something. He's putting people on the Federal Reserve that believe in the gold standard.
Well, he wants to use that as a means of stabilizing the dollar, which is a good idea. But people have a misconception. We cannot back dollar for dollar gold like we did in 1933. All you can do is proportionately maybe do 3 or 4% because you have to set a floor price on gold. In other words, the percentage price of what you're protecting in currency and gold has to have a gold value. Right now, if we did 3 or 4% based on the supposed numbers that the Federal Reserve, that the Fort Knox has, we're talking about $2,500 to $3,000 gold. That's why when I tell people, what do I think gold is going to do? I think it'll fluctuate, but I think gold will never go below $2,000 an ounce when it does hit it in the next 12 months.
If folks want more information from you and Wes Peters, how do they get that?
Well, they call us, Brandon. I think you have the number there that Wes had supplied to reach us at. And we will be more than happy to anybody from Worldview. And we were very, very fortunate last week. We talked to a number of people, and it was very eye-opening to see the concerns that most people have. And one of the biggest things that I see is the financial liberty, the freedom of being able to make their own thought and their own concerns with their money. That is a major issue to every single one of these people. And at the end of the day here right now, this is not something that realistically is going to change overnight. People go to the banks now to deposit money, just deposit $500 in their checking account, and they get hassled by the bank who wants to know their driver's license number to be able to deposit cash in their bank account. So it's pretty much a concern issue to all of what to do, and we can sit down with you and help you review where you're at and give you an idea of how best to be able to protect yourself in relationship to your assets.
And you're only talking,
And
Mike, you're not talking about taking half of your assets and putting them in gold or silver. You're
no,
talking maybe
absolutely
five
not.
or 10%, right?
Absolutely not. We don't recommend that at all. We recommend no more than 25% of your assets in gold to protect the other 85 to 80 to 85%. We do not recommend that you put all your assets in gold at all. And right now, my statement, as it might be though, is not having an appropriate amount of gold in your portfolio is financially irresponsible. I could talk to a guy just the other day who was worth millions of dollars and he couldn't raise a dime. He couldn't sell his stock because he would lose money, so he couldn't raise money to deal with what he had to, and he was locked away from it. He couldn't get his hands on the adequate amount of funds that he needed to do. Gold, if he had offset it properly, would have gone up to be able to be available for him. And by the way, the phone number you can reach us on is 602 485 3363. And
No,
people are there.
602.
Oh, 62.
Yeah, 602 485 3362. 602 485 3362. Again,
Sorry about
602, that's all right, 602 485 3362. I'll give it again. Area code 602 485 3362. And they'll send you some free information, no obligation, free information from Swiss America. Our friend Craig Smith is the owner and CEO. We've known Craig for many, many years. We've interviewed him many, many times. You see him on with Neil Cavuto on Fox News and other places. And many of you have met Wes Peters at many of our conferences. Last week, it appeared as though Wall Street investors were ready, Mike, to resume the longest bull market in history as the stock price has recovered, a portion of the 30% loss we've seen in the last few months. But do you think the worst is over, or will corporate earnings, pop and the market continue to produce more of a further bubble?
I think that the stock market will head back up. I think that the stock market will be fine. I think the big issue of problems is currencies and banks. I think that right now in every market there's buyers and sellers. And when you had the stock market drop to the levels that it did, there's a person who's selling it who made a fortune. Some people out there who were shorting the market made trillions of dollars in the last 6 weeks. They want to turn around and make trillions of dollars on the way back up again. So they'll run it up. I think there'll be stability in that area. And I don't believe in a bubble of the market. I think that the bubble that exists involves really simply our banks and our money, and that will have a downward trend ultimately on our stocks. So I can see the stocks not crashing, but maybe heading back up to near highs and testing it and then settling in the mid-20 to like 24 or 25,000 because of an unstable banking situation. And that will only solve itself, and it won't totally solve itself until we devalue currency, take a hit personally, and also elect Trump as president. If we elect the Democrats, help us. And right now, the banks, as I said, are salivating because they now have the beginning of socialism, literally, in this country, where people are just sitting back and following that yellow brick road, and it appears to be the same for their banks, too. People need to talk up the way they're starting to do and saying enough already.
Let's discuss how the pandemic is impacting precious metals, which had already begun rising before the crisis hit. Gold prices are now back above $1,700 an ounce for the first time since 2012. Have we entered a new bull market? And if so, where do you think the prices will go from here? Is it too late to get started buying into the gold and silver market? We'll talk about silver more in a minute, but let's talk about gold first.
Well, I think quite honestly, you haven't even begun to hit the true crescendo. People will call up right now and say, well, why is gold going up with the stock market? Why did it go down with the stock market? The gold market is in a bull run. It's being monetized. It's being used as money. Outside the United States, China, Japan, India, they're using gold as money right now. And Switzerland is embracing it again. Switzerland is not part of the European Union. They're embracing gold. These other countries are embracing gold, including the United States. So when people say, well, the stock market's gone up and gold's gone up, well, remember this. gold was about $1,200 an ounce when Donald Trump started office, and before this pandemic started, it was over 1,600, went up over $400 with the stock market because of currencies and debt and banks. Gold is not necessarily going to operate as it used to with the stock market. It's going to operate as it is right now as a currency, and you have to look at the fact that the price of gold, in my opinion, by the end of 2021, could very likely be close to $3,000 an ounce. But 2,000 will be the new norm. The question that people should be asking themselves is, what is going to happen to everything else? Because gold acts as an anchor, literally.
Let's talk about silver. Price seems to be stuck around or right under $20 an ounce, stuck under $20 an ounce so far. But I noticed that the gold-silver ratio topped, 120 to 1, which is a historic high. So will silver prices eventually catch up like they did back in 2011 when prices hit $50 an ounce? Or will the coming economic recession or depression, whatever you want to call it, hold industrial uses down? Because again, silver is consumed in about 2,000 plus applications or more. So silver is consumed, gold is held. If we don't have industry running, silver is not being consumed. Therefore, it affects the price because of the price in supply and demand. So what do you see going on here with silver?
Well, silver is an industrial metal first and a precious metal second. It's not a financial instrument. However, it's absolutely insane when I look at the silver market right now where there's no product. Very little silver is available anywhere, yet the price is down. Somebody is manipulating it. The banks, J.P. Morgan's has a tremendous amount of silver right now in its portfolio. Why? I believe because of the fact that in deference to others, I believe ratio will go up. I do not believe silver is going to $500 an ounce or $1,000 an ounce or $200. But for goodness sakes, if it just tests its previous high of $50, that's almost a 400% gain. On a short-term basis, silver, I don't believe in sure things, but my goodness, when you have something that is oversold, not available, and undervalued, it tells you somebody is pulling the strings in the background, and who that person is going to be the same person that lets the bubble burst on the upside and collects. That's what's going to happen. So silver is going to be a dynamic metal as far as following gold. Yes, it will follow the market. But right now, short-term wise, it's going to have some sort of a bull run that we are yet to see as the months come forward.
Let's talk about the supply of gold. I mean, if they call you up and they want to get information from you, and I'll give the number here again in a minute, but do you guys even have any inventory in gold and silver?
You know, it's sort of funny you brought that up, Brannon. When we talk to people, when I talk to people sometime and we talk about Swiss America, and they tell me, well, how much are you over spot? Well, we're not interested as soon as they go in that direction. Most of the companies out there, 95% of them, almost probably 98% of them, don't have any metal right now because most of the gold companies in the last 10 years operate hand to mouth. They sit back and they take your money and they literally drop ship, get it in a couple days and ship to you. So they don't carry inventories and therefore they don't have product right now. That's why most of the companies out there are doing pre-orders. You give them money and wait 3 months for them to get it. We don't do that. At Swiss America, we don't sell it unless we have it in inventory. So if you wire us money today, you're going to get your gold shipped tomorrow. And these other people don't do it. Brannon, right now, and I know Wes would agree with me, we've got people calling us up pretending to be the public that are coin shops trying to buy metal from us because they don't have any. We have an inventory that's in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and we have over 60,000 clients that some people are selling. When we buy back, we don't buy back and sell it off to somewhere else. We keep it. So we've got a constantly increasing and fed portfolio from buyers and sellers from within. But that's a big problem in the industry right now. There's a shortage of metal. Wholesalers are shut down. The government right now, the United States Mint is being looked upon as very likely shutting down for a while. And people call up and say, can you give me the best price on something? And my answer is, go tell me where you can get it for first and then call me back, because they can't get it. But we don't take advantage of that. We sell the same markup prices we had before this happened to where it is now. So there's no change. We're very consistent, and we operate only out of what we have available, and we have plenty of metal. If you want to buy it right now, we can definitely service your needs.
And you don't take their money unless you have it and can ship it.
You're darn right.
The number for free information and do your due diligence and get the free information from Swiss America, from Craig Smith and Wes Peters and Michael Weiner is 602-485-3362, area code 602-485-3362. I'll give that again, area code 602-485-3362. All right, Mike, again, we're doing a special financial update. We don't give financial advice. We give financial opinion. Do your own due diligence, and that number I gave you will allow you to get the free information to get that free information to do that due diligence that we strongly recommend that you do. Let's talk about the growing war on cash. I see the World Health Organization has joined in on the attack on cash. We know they tried to get the digital dollar into the last coronavirus bill, but that got pulled out, so they clearly have plans for that. They're encouraging people to use cashless payments to avoid the spread of the coronavirus. So, they're all running around saying cash is filthy, cash is dirty. But, credit cards. I mean, the other night I picked up a hamburger and I handed the guy my credit card. He was wearing a mask and gloves, but he turned around and handed me my credit card back. But he'd been touching everybody else's credit cards and then touched my credit card. And so I don't know how that's any different, but it seems that this is really just a propaganda to get us to get rid of cash. Why is there this war on cash?
Absolutely. Because paper money, there's a set amount. They know how much is out there at all times. Digital money is like digital trading in the stock market. It's ambivalent. They can just hit a button and make changes all day long any way they want. You lose total control. It's a matter of literally tying into a globalist network of currencies that we lose our identity in, literally. And eventually, who knows who's controlling it after a while? Because it's not controlled by the Federal Reserve. It's not controlled by the United States Mint. It's not controlled by the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury. It's somewhere off in the clouds somewhere. And, it's going to be a whole other industry. And full of fraught with fraud. I mean, if you think counterfeiting was bad, wait till you see what they do with this. That's why they want it.
Let's talk about how the pandemic's created a real shift in the financial world, which is also really having a impact on the retirement accounts, pensions, pension funds. I'm reading reports now that many of these states, of course, the states can't print money. The federal government through the Treasury with the Federal Reserve can, the states can't. And many of these states, boy, their state pension funds are in bad shape. I mean, I guess they're going to have to raise their state taxes and come up with all kinds of ways to tax and penalize people. But what are your thoughts on all this, and what can our listeners do and viewers do to protect and grow their financial future and retirement funds through something like precious metals?
Well, that's a very good question. There was a very interesting gentleman who was president. His name was Franklin Roosevelt. He supposedly was creating our retirement program and Social Security. And I think if most Americans added up how much they put into it and how much they actually get out of it, first of all, they want you to die. You have no beneficiary. You lose control of your money. And legitimately, it was a huge almost socialist position of how to control us, and we're finding out every day that Social Security is broke. We borrowed from it as a nation, and then we literally never replaced it. So all the people that put all their money away are in trouble. But let's talk about pensions. The pensions and retirement plans are guaranteed by Pension Guaranty Trust. It's just like the FDIC for pensions. And guess what? Before this pandemic happened, they were upside down almost 50%. They were 50% uncovered. How much do you think they're uncovered right now? And more importantly, the Democrats on multiple occasions, multiple times, and you can Google it, I've asked you all to do it. The government retirement program, they want to do what Roosevelt did in creating Social Security. They're going to come up with the same statement they're doing right now. We're going to protect you. We're going to take care of you. We're going to make sure you don't lose that money of yours. So we're going to swallow it up, put it in your Social Security account, which now, by the way, you have no beneficiary of, you have no control of, you have no say-so in, and we'll make you a bigger check every month in your Social Security. Well, whoopee. Does your wife get any? Does your friend get any? Does your children get any? No. It's literally a multi-trillion-dollar scandal that's in the making. They look at the retirement program of anywhere from 25 to 40 trillion dollars. The Democrats tried under Obama twice to do it, but they had a Republican Congress they couldn't get away with it on. And don't think they won't. Look into the something called the Secure Act. The Secure Act that was passed in the House, where they're trying to leech on to blocking your ability with your beneficiaries. This is all a play. They're salivating over that money in there. And there was a guy in 1984, some of you people might have heard of him, his name was Ronald Reagan. And Ronald Reagan created the Gold IRA program. And the reason why he created it is he made a very simple statement. I want Americans to own something that the government does not have a direct gateway to get to. What does that mean? If it's in stocks, banks, cash, money markets, bonds, the government within a millisecond can lock you out of it immediately and soak it up. If you're in physical gold IRA, they cannot do that. They have to get into your holdings, and they have to take you to court to do so. How right was President Reagan literally 34 years ago when he predicted that the government would come after retirement dollars because of the amount of money that was growing. And here we are. So right now, if anything at all, people who are sitting on 401ks or any other type of dollars in their retirement plans should look at diversifying them. Gold IRAs, by the way, have done unbelievably well during this. And I just had a client, a Worldview client, call me this morning to liquidate his IRA to deal with his taxes, part of it, because he couldn't get out of his stocks without losing money, and his gold went up enough to offset it. Gold did exactly what it was supposed to do. It protected him. And we were able to liquidate him same day, and nobody could stop it, period. That's the benefit. Gold IRA, gold and silver IRAs are something that have been around for 34 years. It's an excellent program. It's financial freedom. And for so many of us, you have to look at the fact that the government, if you ever read the article, I'd be more than happy to share it with you, that came out on the Wall Street Journal last summer about the Congress passing the Secure Act and heading it off to the Senate. You'll be very, very alive and awake to the fact that there is a problem. And there's one that you can still solve. You can wait till you pay more and get less, or you can wait till you can't do it at all.
So let's talk about that for a minute. Before we conclude here and give the number again. If someone, let's say, purchases gold now at around $1,700 an ounce, let's say it goes to, in the next few years, it goes to $2,000, $2,500, $3,000, whatever it's going to go to. And they need to come up with funds. Everything else has been going down, and then they're losing in other areas. But this, let's say this asset goes up. Again, this is, a theory. So let's say it goes up to $2,500, $3,000 an ounce. They can overnight it to you, registered, certified, insured mail. They call you up. They tell you what they're going to do. You give them the mailing instructions. They send it insured through the mail the same way they got it from you. They send it back to you. You get it in and you lock in that price, and then they can have a check overnighted back to them within 48 hours. Are you telling me that's how liquid this is?
Correct. If it's in an IRA, it's immediate. I mean, if you're in an IRA, we can buy you out same day and forward the money to the trust company. But and the beauty of it is that nobody can stop you. You have that capability because you're controlling it yourself. Whereas I have had many people right now that are in terrible shape because of what have happened, because they lost their job, and they'll call up and say, unfortunately, I've got to sell my gold. And I say, don't say unfortunately. Gold is doing what you needed it to do. But realistically, at this point, most of their other entities that they're in, try to sell your stocks, your mutual funds, your bonds, or anything else if there's a major problem and the government says, you know what, or the stock brokerage firm says, I'm real sorry, but right now you're going to have to wait till tomorrow. What are you going to do? You're going to sue them? Good luck. Reality is, if you control it yourself and you're a Swiss America client, we have not missed a repurchase in almost 40 years. And the other thing with gold, as an aside line, gold and silver, is you can sell it elsewhere. You can't walk in with a stock certificate to Joe Barnes, a pawnbroker shop, but you sure as heck can walk in with a gold coin and he'll give you money and leave. So I don't recommend that as a solution, but it just shows you the viability of the product.
Again, folks, if you want to get the information, it's free. You do your due diligence. I don't know why you wouldn't want to call and get the free information. No obligation. They're there to educate you, not to twist your arm. So you're just calling for the free information right now. 602-485-3362. Again, area code 602-485-3362. Again, area code 602-485-3362. All right, well, Mike, we'll continue to do these updates every few weeks as things progress and unfold and see where we're going. Again, we appreciate your time in helping us understand what's happening and where things might be going. And if anything else comes up in the meantime, holler at us. We'll get you back on, but we'll look to do another one of these in a couple weeks.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
All right, folks, thanks so much for listening. We appreciate your desire to understand what's happening, and we hope this is a service to you. Again, we don't offer financial advice, but we do give financial opinion. We provide this as research for you to do and then free information for you to call and get from Swiss America so you can do your due diligence, get educated, ask all the questions you need to ask, and after you've had all those questions answered, then you can make an educated decision for what is best for you individually. We cannot give you individual information as to what you should do collectively because everybody's situation is different. That's why it's so important to get this free information. Get your questions answered, talk to Wes and talk to Mike Weiner here, and then decide what to do because, again, everybody's situation is different. So the number is 602-485-3362, 602-485-3362. Till next time, I'm Brannon Howse. Thanks for listening. Take care.